Hello everybody, today I'm going to talk about tools, guitar repair tools, what you need, what you don't need. Personally I've always been resistant to spending tons of money on expensive guitar tools. There's a few tools that you really should have, but there's other tools you don't really need. You can get by without a lot of different tools. When I first started to work on guitars, it was around 93. I knew a guy named Hutch. He was a bass player back in southern Ontario, Canada. And I mentioned I wanted to work on a guitar, and I wanted to refret it. And he's like, oh, you need all this special tools and all this stuff. And I thought, what? Why? Because a couple of my friends, they would make their own tools. They didn't work on guitars, but they worked on cars, and they did carpentry. They did all kinds of things. And when they needed a tool, they just made it. So I remember I did fret that guitar. Actually, I took the fretboard off of it, and one of those guys, he helped me take the fretboard off, and I glued on a new fretboard, and I fretted it. And I didn't use any special tools. I'd like to do my own fretting. I've probably done 14 guitars so far, and I use 5-minute epoxy. I glue them in. And I've always made my own method of clamping them and made my own radius blocks out of pine and stuff. I've never had an issue with that. It's never been an issue. I've never bought any expensive tools, but recently I have bought a couple of tools. So I'm going to go over what you need, what you really don't need to do like basic guitar setups and fret dressings and things like that. I'll show you, I might not take all my tools out, but I'll show you the ones that I use probably the most. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple tips about sandpaper. One, use the same brand, because if you have 3 different brands of sandpaper, one brand, the 400, might be a lot coarser than another brand's 400. So you want it when you're dressing frets or whatever you're doing, you want the sandpaper to be all uniform. And here's how you keep sandpaper. This is for paperwork. Well, not mine. Mine's for sandpaper. All my 600s in here, all my 800 and so forth. So that is a free tip for you. Okay, one of the first things you're going to absolutely need is you're going to need screwdrivers. So this is my go-to box. It's got the things I use probably the most. Winders. And if you're going to work on other people's guitars or even yours, make sure you're using the right size. Because sometimes you see people that'll use the wrong size and these things get all jacked up. They look terrible. Especially if you're working on someone else's guitar. Make sure you're using the right size fill up, the right size slotted. Take your time there, because you don't want to look like a hack job. So it's just your basic tools in there. I only do fretting for myself, so this probably is nothing that you'll need to know about, but the Dremel, it has a little attachment on it, and I use that once I pull the frets out to widen the fret slots to match the tangs of the frets I'm putting in. I got a set here, I'm going to do a fret job, and this is a fret tang nipper, because when you're doing a fret job on a guitar that has binding, it's a pain. It's really a pain, and this makes it a lot easier to nip the fret ends. When you refret a guitar with binding, you can see how the fret goes over on top of the binding, but the tang, this is the bottom part with the barbs on it, it doesn't go into the binding. So the fret has to be sort of like this. So that's what the fret tang nipper does. And even after using it, I still got to clean it up a bit, but it's so much nicer when you have one of those. So I just wanted to explain that. Definitely need some winders. I should get an electric one. You're going to need Allens. You're going to need a lot of Allens. This is from my Breedlove acoustic. It takes this big size. And you're going to need these guys for working on Gibsons and PRSs, because they don't have an Allen to adjust the truss rod. If you're going to change tuners, you're going to need something to sometimes enlarge the holes. This does a nice job. This is a really old tool too. This is one of those made in America tools, I think. I don't know if there's a name on it, but it's really old. Oh, I think there is a name on it. Made in the USA, Blue Point. There you go. Right on. I don't see that enough. Okay, dowels. And the reason I have these wooden dowels is when these screws on the strap buttons get stripped out, I drill them out and I stick these in there. I glue them in. I'll usually cut a slot in it it's an old carpenter trick for the glue to escape. Stick those in, take a razor blade, cut it off, let it dry, and then I can re-drill the hole. You'll end up wanting to have one of these Capos. I don't use it for playing guitar, I use it for working on guitars. I usually use it to hold the string down, and I use my other hand to push the string onto the fret, and then I can use the straight edge of the strings to check the relief in the neck. You're definitely going to need, you definitely want to have feeler gauges. I'm pretty due for a new set. And of course, you're going to need tuners. That's an obvious thing. And you're going to need some kind of neck support. Now, this one I made. And Bill, I'm giving you some advertisements, so maybe, you could send me a royalty check once in a while. Bill's cool. He was here once. I love what he makes. Inventor of Bixby, parts and modifications. Pretty cool. Obviously, you're going to go through a lot of tape. Tape things off. Tape the guitar off. You could even, I have some paper too. Don't get somebody's guitar all scratched up because you're, not being careful. That's just part of it. Okay, you're going to have some kind of lube for the nut after you cut it. And I usually use this with a little bit of grease, mix it together. But this stuff you got to be careful of. It's dry powdered graphite, and you be careful. If this thing gets on your wife's rug or something, it's hard to get rid of it. So you got to be careful using it. I didn't want StewMac files. There was those yellow ones. I can't think of the name right now. I wanted those, but they're unavailable. So I got these StewMac ones. They work good. They're not what I wanted, but they work good. And I got, miscellaneous files. This one is pretty cool for doing fret ends because it's flat on both sides and it has a rounded file on the edges. So I like to do that for sharp fret ends. This is just a regular file from a hardware store. Cut the end off so I could dress frets with that. And I recently got this Fret Guru. This is a really nice fret file. Really nice. Let me get it in the light here. 2 different sizes. And just the way it's designed is so much smarter. So much. This is really good. I did a review of this. I really like this. I got this straight edge. And I got the old neck check. Made in USA. It's got the 2 most used scales on there. The 24 3/4 Gretsch Gibson scale and the 25.5 Fender. And most metal guitars have a 25.5 inch scale. You want some radius gauges. These came out of a book, a Dan Erlewine book. You probably want a couple of those too. What else? This thing's awesome. This is a fret, what do you call this thing? A fret rocker. And I'll show you what it does. Okay, you take the fret rocker and go down a little bit here. And if it starts rocking, you know that middle fret is high. That's how you can tell. And the way it's designed, you can use it over the whole fretboard up to these little guys here. This tool is, you want one of those for sure. Some radius blocks. Here's probably the most common one, 12. That's a great tool to have. Okay, what else? Mother's polish. I use that to polish my frets. I used to use a polishing pad on the Dremel, but now, I go up to 2,000, 2,500 with the sandpaper. So I just do this a few times on a rag and the frets come out awesome because of the sandpaper is so fine. Of course, you need glue, of course. And you need something to treat fretboards. And I use, I've seen a guy on YouTube pour this stuff after he's, you know, leveled and dressed the frets. Pour the stuff over all the frets, which I thought that wasn't very smart. So I use these. These are from my late father. These are from, I don't know, it says 89 on there, and these are to clean VCR and camcorder, the video head, and the drum assembly. And what I do is I take a little bit of my lemon oil and I stick it on the end. Then when I put it on, let's pretend there's no strings on here. I don't ever touch the fret. When I get to the end, I kind of got to go like that. But basically, you don't ever get this stuff on the frets because I don't want lemon oil on my newly dressed frets. That'd be crazy. And of course, some rubbing compound to take out scratches and that. You got to be careful with that stuff. You don't want to mess up somebody's guitar. And of course, you need CRC Electronic Cleaner. You want the kind that doesn't hurt plastics. You got to be careful with some of this stuff, or you know, if you start soldering and they're soldering on near someone's guitar, because that solder can splatter and burn the finish. You know, especially people that have lacquer. I don't know why people are so obsessed with that nitro lacquer. I completely don't get it. And I've had some vintage guitars. I just don't get it. Polyurethane is so tough and strong. It just is. Do you want your guitar to look like this? Or do you want your guitar to look like it's been dragged through a ditch? I don't know. Some people dig that, I guess. So another thing, this is something I need. And I got this from my good friend Frankie from Brooklyn. This used to be on a big arm with the spring. And what I did was, that's a LED. It was the exact perfect size. I stuck that in there. So now when I'm you know, working on, especially doing nuts, this thing's great. It just works so good. Anyway, that does not hurt to have that. So that is basically the stuff that I basically use the most. And like some things you could get away without a straight edge. You don't need a straight edge, because when you get the guitar, you take this, put the capo up there. Just pretend this is laying on the bench. In one hand, you go like this, and then you can go like that. And you can see the string is a straight edge, as good as any straight edge you have, and you can see the relief in it. You see there's a little relief there, maybe more than I need. So you don't really need a straight edge. I mean, I do like having it. I'm glad I got it. There's no buyer's remorse there. So, and this one's neat because it just makes it faster. You're going right on the fretboard. So I suggest having these. Yeah, I would pretty much say what I have here, you probably want at least this assortment. You want to have a crowning file. You know, these don't hurt. This is really valuable. And of course, radius blocks. But that's what I've got. I don't have thousands of dollars into, you know, guitar setup tools because I find I don't need them. You know, there's a lot of those tools are, you know, if you're going to start doing fretting, you're going to need some tools, definitely. I'm about to put some big 57 thousandths of an inch Jeskars in this guild, and I'm going to use that radius block. I'm going to use my tang nipper, and I'm going to use some clamps that I have, and I'll probably make, well, of course I'll make a video doing that, but basically this is what you need. So anyway, I appreciate you coming here to my channel. I'd really appreciate if you consider subscribing, hitting the like button. I'm a small fry. There's a lot of big fish out there on YouTube, and I'm just trying to like get some people to subscribe. 98% of the people that come through here don't subscribe. So, man, that's killing me. So if you don't mind, help a little brother out, help a little fish out. Anyway, yeah, Bill, I'm advertising for you. You need a fret rest. I think I forgot to mention that. You need some kind of fret rest. This one I just built, you know, and now I'm advertising for Bill. You should check out his Bixby inventions. They're really awesome. This guy is a smart cookie. He actually came here once. There's a video of him putting one of his big fixes on a guitar. He comes here, buys a Wildcat from me, and then he puts his part on there. I made a video. It was a pretty cool day. He's a cool guy. So, Bill, I need some royalties for advertising for you. Anyway, that's basically what I use, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day, everybody.